Hey guys, welcome back. So today I am going to teach you how you can build your own custom API routes and perform all of the usual CRUD operations. We will be using MongoDB and Thunder Client in this tutorial. So this is a solid foundation for a full stack application, and you can reuse this code and build a fully working M.E.R.N app in case you wish to do so. Do not forget to look for the source code and timestamps in the description below. So in this tutorial you will learn how to create a document inside MongoDB, how to read all the existing documents, how to update a single document, or how to delete a single document. And basically we will use the ID and we will use the params in order to find and basically delete or update a specific document. So let me show you what is the end goal for this project. Cool. So as you can see, I am inside MongoDB database. So if I click Browse Collections, you will see that there are no documents. Okay, I have 0 results. So what I want to do right away is to create a new reminder. I'm calling this a reminder. You can call this a to-do, you can call this a note, whatever. It's up to you, but I'm calling this a reminder. So I'm gonna go inside Thunder Client and I'm actually gonna create a new reminder. And if I refresh, I should have a new document. And there you go, I have it. So as you can see, our schema, our Mongoose schema is quite simple. It only defines a title and details for each reminder. So let me just add 2 more reminders. And as expected, I have my 3 individual documents, and each document has a unique ID. And this unique ID is actually coming from MongoDB automatically. It is not defined inside our Mongoose schema. Okay? So now that we have 3 different documents, let me just grab one and delete it. So let me delete the reminder number 3. Now I can simply refresh my page and this will be gone. Boom, there you go. So this is what we are going to be doing, and I'm going to teach you and walk you through the process step by step. Just a quick side note before moving on and setting up our project. Of course that we will need to use the HTTP request methods in order to create what I just showed you. And as you can see, there's a few methods and you can explore this on your own because I will be linking this document inside the video's description. But basically we will be using 4 request methods. Okay, we will be using post to create a new document. We will be using get to read whatever documents are inside our database. We will be using put to update a specific document by its ID, and we will use delete to delete a specific document by its ID also. So now you need to create a backend folder inside the root of your project. And as you can see, I did it already. It's totally empty, but it's done. Now we need to initialize a new project inside this folder. Okay, so I'm going to open the terminal and notice that I am not inside that folder. So I need to cd into not server backend. Now that I am inside that folder, I can just run npm init -y and this is going to create a package.json file for me. It is also time to actually install the necessary backend packages, okay? And for this project, we will need to use a few. Of course, Express, because we'll have an Express app, Mongoose for our schema, and we also need the .env because we want to save our connection string inside a .env file for safety reasons. And we also need another package called course, and this is to avoid errors, okay? Of course, you can Google these packages on your own. So I'm gonna just run npm-i. I'm gonna start with Express, then Mongoose, also .env, and as mentioned, course. So press enter. Notice that we now have those packages under our dependencies, but we need another package, node.mon, and I want to install this package as a development dependency. Okay, so for that, I'm gonna run npm-i --save -dev, and now it's going to be node.mon. I think this is the correct way. node.mon. Let's see. Press enter. Cool. It is installed. Now we can create our .env file inside our backend folder. So .env, and I'm gonna paste this. So this is going to be the MongoDB connection string URI. Okay, you can call this whatever you want, but I'm gonna go with this, which is one of the conventions. Okay, so, and the thing about this document, this file, is that you want to basically keep your sensitive information inside this document. In case you are going to push the code into GitHub, you do not want to expose this connection string. Okay, so for that, we actually also need to create a .gitignore file. So still inside backend, .gitignore, and we can add now the .env file inside it, so we do not expose our sensitive data. Okay, we now need to create the brain of our application, and that means we need to create the index.js file. So inside the backend, I'm going to create index.js file, and this is a very important file, and we will come back to it very soon. node.mon package that we installed here is going to help us to refresh the server in an easier way. But for that to really work, we actually need to create a couple of scripts. So the first one is going to be the start script, and the second one is going to be the dev script. So every time we want to basically start our development server, we'll have to run npm-run dev, and this will start our development server. Time to build our Express app inside our index.js, and to make sure that the app listens to our port number. So we are basically using this above. And this is just the standard thing, nothing fancy. This is just the standard code, to be honest. We also now need to define a port, okay? And we put that port inside our .env file, okay? But for development, we can set like our port number. We can set it to, I don't know, 5,000, 8,000, 7,000, I believe. I think they all will work. So let's do that. So let's just define the const port. So the localhost port, port process whatever port number it's inside the port variable inside the .env file, and for that we are using the .env package, or development server, let's go and use 5000. Okay, and now we need to check the root route, so our home page, to see if the app is running or not. For that, of course, we need, I can define first app, so app.get, so the method get, and the response, it's going to be in JSON. And if this works, we'll see a message something like express app is running, something like this. And we need also to make sure that the app is listening, so app.listen. Okay, and if this is all good, we'll console log a message to our Visual Studio console saying something like, I don't know, server. Okay, so now let's just start the development server. So I'm inside the backend folder, npm run dev, and let's see if this is working. Okay, something is wrong. Let me see. Okay, you know the drill, debugging. So looks like there was an issue with the port number, and as you can see, I changed that port number to 8000, and now I'm getting this message in the console, server is running on port 8000. Okay, and if I refresh, all good. So let's try to change this to 7000. So I'm getting the message. Let me see if this is going to work or break. Yeah, 7000, it is working. Time to create and connect our MongoDB database. That means we need to go through the process, the sign up process, and we need to get our connection string. So you would click connect and MongoDB for Visual Studio Code. I'm not gonna waste time doing this again because I did that already in another video. So if you check this video of mine, you will see the exact steps that you need to take in order to get your connection string. And as you can see in the timestamps, I do have a specific chapter that teaches you how to do just that. After finishing the sign up process, you can get to here by clicking database, connect, and then MongoDB for Visual Studio Code. And that will give you a connection string similar to this. Okay? Of course, you will have your own username, which is pre-populated by MongoDB automatically, but you do need to remove this and add the password. Okay? And also, after doing that, you can add reminders here. Sorry, it's not reminders, it's meant to be just reminder. Now, with the correct connection string inside the .env file, it is time to connect our Mongoose so we can talk to our database. Okay? For that, we need to create a database connection file. So I'm going to go inside Backend and I'm going to create a file called db connection.js. So inside this file, we are going to connect our Mongoose. And for that, I'm just gonna require Mongoose. And I'm going to build the async function that will deal with the connection. Probably you know that MongoDB by definition is schemaless, okay? and we actually need Mongoose in order to define the schemas and talk to the database. So that also means that we need to create our models folder. So I'm going to go inside the backend. I'm going to create the models folder, and this is the standard convention, I believe. Inside this folder, I'm going to create a file called reminders.js because we need the help of Mongoose. And here I will have to create our schema. In our project, it's super simple. We only have like a title and the details. Okay, we have the title and the details. This is our schema. And make sure that this schema const starts with a capital S. I believe that people forget this and then cannot debug this, and this doesn't work sometimes. I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think I am correct. This is where we add the table fields. Okay, so in our case, it's going to be just the title. Okay, and this is going to be the type of string, capital S, one more time, and in this case we want to define as required, so no one can create a new document inside the database unless the field is populated. Okay, but yeah, I mean, you could go and after the testing done, you could make both fields required. It's up to you. Mongoose, okay, and it's a model, okay, and inside this model, the model is going to be reminder, but automatically MongoDB will change this to a lowercase and add an S to the end. So it's gonna turn this into plural. And this is just MongoDB stuff automatically done. So let's continue. The Mongoose schema is now defined and we are exporting it. So it is time for us to require this schema inside of the brain of our project, which is the index.js. So for that, we need to, of course, require that. So let me think. We also need to, and I forgot, this is a mistake, so I forgot to actually require the .env file, the .env config. This is the package that we installed, and this should go right at the top. So let me just do that because I forgot that. So require, firstly, I want to require the .env package, and then I just pass the config method to it directly like this, and we are going to also need the course package, so I'm gonna also do that so I don't forget course. And I'm also, what the heck, I'm also gonna require this package, course. There you go. And for us to be able to really talk to our database, we need two things. The first thing is the database connection, so const db connection. And finally, we also need to get access to the model and the schema that we just created. So const. Okay, so now that we have all of that, let me just arrange this a tiny bit more. We have the app, we have the port. Let me just group this. We are requiring the connection, but we are not initializing it, so I gotta do that right away, otherwise it will not work. Okay, and the app will be using course package right here, so I'm gonna make sure that the app uses course, and we are going to use also JSON, so I'm just gonna copy paste something Not gonna bother explaining you this much. This is super easy and standard. And now this is where we check if the app is running, and we did that already. Check if app is running. There we go, and we can go back and delete this again. And as you can see, NodeMon detects all of the changes automatically, and all we have to do is to refresh, and it does work. Cool. I'm not gonna have a page called, like, I don't know, sales. See? And you cannot get sales because this route doesn't exist. But my point is, let's just make sure that the app will send a JSON response saying like page not found in case the user types a route that doesn't exist. For that, what I can do is I can put all of this. So this, let me just add a comment here. So we'll build our custom routes here, the endpoints, and we'll leave the app.listen, and I can also add the app dot get, okay, get method one more time. And what I want to do, instead of /, I want to add the asterisk, which means basically all the routes, okay. And of course, as usual, I'm gonna have a request from the browser and a response from the server, and the syntax is arrow function. And I'm gonna send a response in a JSON format. In case the route doesn't exist, I want to say something like, oops, page not found, and it's a 404 error. 404 error. Okay, so if I now refresh this page, I should see this message instead of cannot get. And there you go. See, it's working. So if now someone tries to access a page that doesn't exist, like about, we'll always see the 404 error message. Right, looking at the comments that I prepared in advance for you, you might be thinking that there's a lot of work to be done. But fear nothing, because that's not really the case. So what we are going to do is basically create our custom API that will point to the reminders, and all we have to do is to use the different methods, the post, the get, the put, and delete. Okay? And basically, when we want to update or delete, we need to know exactly what document to update or delete. And for that, we'll be grabbing the ID, and we'll do that by using the params. So at the end of the day, we are going to create our first endpoint, and we will be reusing the code. So let's go. So the first one is going to be app.get. This is the method as mentioned, and this is going to point to our API, and then reminders, okay, slash, and because we are going to be talking to the database, we need to use async and await, okay. This is a standard when talking to databases. So async, and of course, as usual, the browser makes a request and the server sends a response back. Okay, that's the idea, that's the goal. So this is the basic syntax. In here, we can now use a try and catch statement. Inside our schema, we have defined that the schema always contains a title and details. Okay, so that's what we need to pass, because this is going to be our request from our body. Okay, so now we need to access our schema. for that we need to define a const. I'm gonna just call it the usual data, very generic. And because we are using async, we now use await, of course. And I'm gonna access the reminders that we have here. So we required that at the top. So I'm accessing the reminders, and I want to do what? I want to create a new document. For there, I'm going to use the create method, right? And I'm going to be passing this information inside the create, because as you remember, one is required, one it's not, but we need to pass the information, okay? And now we need to check if there is data or not, because if there's no data, we need to throw an error saying a problem happened, we cannot do this. So I'm going to use an if, okay? And if data is empty, so I'm going to use if the opposite of data. So if there's no data, but in case there's some data, in case everything is all fine, I want to send a response status, okay? And the status is 200, okay? And we'll check this using Thunder client, and we need to do this using the JSON format. So we need to pass whatever data we have here, so we get the JSON format. Okay. This is all good. So if there's an error, we need to handle it. So if there's an error, okay, what we want to do, it's a response dot status, and the status is going to be the generic 500 internal server error, and this is going to be also in a JSON format, and I can pass the message, and in this case I'm actually just gonna copy paste so it's a bit faster. Okay, so now we did that, and I went ahead, in order to save us time, I created a new collection inside the Thunder client. As you can see, I called it reminders app, and I have all of these methods. I'm gonna use like post to create a reminder, a get to read all of the reminders, a get to read a specific reminder by grabbing its ID, a put to update a specific reminder by grabbing its ID, and the delete to delete a specific reminder by ID. So I want to create now, so we can now go and browse collections, and I deleted everything, so we should have no documents, exactly as expected, but now I want to create a reminder, okay? Remember that this will not work if you do not have the connection string, or if there's a problem with your connection string inside your .env file. This is crucial, okay? So I prepared this in advance, and all I'm doing, as you can see, is pointing to our API. I can close this, and the API is what we defined it here, okay? And I want to start by actually create my first reminder. I'm providing a title and details. I'm going to click send, and as expected, we got the status 200. So we created a reminder, and to be 100% sure, we can click refresh, and as expected, we have a new document. So I'm going to create a couple more documents. So reminder 2, reminder 3. I'm going to click send. I'm going to refresh, and I have my 3 documents. Actually, I need to. Okay, as you can see, I have my 3 documents, my 3 reminders. All good. So, of course, the post route is working. So let's continue and let's build the other routes. I just noticed, sorry. So as you can see, I'm using the post method. That's why I was able to create these 4 documents. I had created 3, and then I created 1 more. But the thing is, in my code, I'm using the get method for creating a new document, and this is actually incorrect. You should use the post method. Okay, so just update this and we are good to go. Now really is the time to actually get all of the documents inside the database using the get method. For that, I'm gonna actually copy paste here at the top. I'm gonna delete whatever it's inside, and of course I need to use the get method in this case. So now I need to basically get all of the data that exists inside the database, all of the documents. So I need to find them all. So try and catch, and I'm just gonna pass an empty object inside. Okay, and now I need to check one more time if there's no data or if there's data. So I'm gonna check again if there's no data. I'm gonna paste this code again. So if there's no data, I'm gonna throw another error, but I'm gonna change the message. Okay, so now I'm trying to get all of the nodes. So the error occurred while fetching all of the nodes. Okay, one more time, if it's all fine, we just need to send the status code back as usual. And if there's an error, we are going to send a message in the status code back one more time. Okay, so this should now be working. So let's test that. So we have 4 documents, I believe. I'm going to refresh, and we see 4 documents inside the database. Now we need to go and check, get all of the reminders, and if I click send, I get the 4 documents, 1, 2, 3, and 4. All good. So the get is also working. Time to get a single document by accessing its ID. Because IDs are unique, we can use that to grab one single and specific document. So we can use the usual format. So I can actually copy paste this. I'm gonna just delete this for the moment. And what I want to do is to access the API reminders. Yes, but we're gonna pass this parameter, and it's still async function. It's a request and response as usual. So time to use our try and catch statement. And what we want to do is to get the URL params. Okay, for that we need to define a new const. I'm gonna call this reminder ID. Okay, reminder ID, and this means that I'm gonna access the request, and inside the request I'm gonna access the params that I have access to, and what I want is the ID. So now I grab whatever ID and I save it inside this variable. Okay, the next thing is to create our const for our data, const data as usual. So const data, and as usual I'm gonna have to await my reminders. Okay, and this time the method is find by ID, because I'm gonna find, yes, but I'm gonna find by its ID, and I'm gonna pass the reminder ID. And I'm just gonna format the document to make it look a bit better. And again, one more time, I need to check if there's no data, right? So if there's no data, of course, we need to send, to throw a new error message, but I'm just gonna change the text, and the error message will be an error occurred while fetching this single reminder. Okay, else, as usual, if it's all good, all fine, we just send the status back to 100 and the data in a JSON format, just the way we've been doing it. So, as I said to you, we are actually reusing plenty of code, and that's great. So, if there's an error, one more time, I'm going to be sending the status, which is 500, and in a JSON format, saying, okay, an error occurred while fetching this single reminder. And this should be all good. So I'm using the get here. So time to actually test this endpoint to see if this is working or not. So I'm going to grab this. And first I'm going to get all my reminders. I have them here. So I want to grab reminder number 4. Okay. I'm grabbing its ID. I go to this endpoint where I get a specific reminder by its ID, and I'm gonna supply that specific ID. I'm gonna press send, and I hope to see reminder 4. And I do see reminder 4. So one more route working. Let's continue. Using a very similar approach, we can either update or delete a specific document by grabbing its ID. Okay, so let me just start, and I'm gonna copy this. Okay, as usual, I'm gonna delete this, nor that I actually need to, but so you see what I'm doing and follow the steps. But this time, pay attention, it's not a get method, it is a put method. Okay, and now I can do the usual thing, the try and catch block. Okay, and what we want the same thing. We want to grab our reminder ID as we did here, so we can actually copy paste this to be a bit faster. And we are grabbing the ID from the parameters, and now we need to access actually the title and the details, because if we want to update something, we might want to update just one field or all of the fields, whatever. So we need to get access to everything. So we're gonna go and define a const for title and details, and remember that these are coming from our schema, okay, our Mongoose schema inside our models folder. Okay, and I'm gonna grab this from my request.body that I have available to me. Okay, so that out of the way, we now need to define our data const data, and this is going to be equal to await one more time, because we are using async right at the top. As usual, we need to access the reminders. Okay, and now we need to find and update by ID. So what I'm going to do is find and update. This is good, this is the method, and I need to pass my reminder ID, so I know which ID I want to update, so which document. And I can now pass this, so I can actually update the title, details, and all of that. And if there's no data, as usual, I'm gonna just throw a message, and I'm just copying a string. Okay, but also, as usual, if there's no problem, if everything is just good, what we can do is to send that back. So we send a response back, the status to 100, and in the JSON format. So just what we have been doing. And one more time, if there's a problem, if there's an error, we need to handle that. So I'm gonna copy paste just the error, which is the same process as we did before. So now it's time to see if we can actually update something by ID. So I'm gonna refresh, and yeah, I have my 4 documents, and I'm gonna grab just the first one, and I want to update the first one. So that means I'm actually gonna open Thunder client. I'm gonna get all, and I want to grab this one in order to update. This is the ID. So the update, it's the put method that we used in here, all good. And I'm gonna pass this ID, and I want to say updated in database, whatever. So let me see, send. Looks like it worked. We can check that by getting all again, click, and as you can see, it was updated, and we can actually refresh also here and should see that, of course. There you go. So another endpoint that is correctly working, and finally we'll need to just build the delete, which is the easiest one. So let's continue. Time for our last endpoint, using this time the delete method. So it's going to be super similar. So I'm actually going to copy paste this one and just make minor changes to this. So it's not going to be a put method anymore, it's going to be a delete. Oops, not caps lock, I'm sorry. It's going to be a delete. Once again, we are using the ID. We need to grab the params, okay? And then we actually do not need this because we are not trying to update anything. So we just need to grab our data, access the reminders, find by ID and update. In this case, it's find by ID and delete. And delete, because we are going to delete it totally. So we don't need to pass this information. We just want to grab a given document by its ID and delete it. And if there's no problem, if there's a problem, I need to pass this message. Okay, an error occurred while deleting this single reminder. And if there's no problem, we send the status code 200, all good, and the data in the JSON format as usual. And if there's a problem, we gonna pass this message, the error message, saying like an error occurred while deleting this single reminder. I believe this is all good, but of course we need to test this out. So as you can see, when I refresh, I have 4 documents. We updated reminder number 1. In this case, I just want to get rid of reminder number 1. So let's see. One more time, open Thunder, get all. So I grab the ID, and this is the one that I'm looking. So I want to delete this one. So I'm grabbing this ID, and I want to delete this specific bad boy. So I'm going to delete this, pass the new ID, send. Looks like it worked. I can refresh, and of course also do the same here, and I should see. So reminder 1 is gone, and of course reminder 1 is gone. So this is it, guys. This is the way that you can create your custom API routes using MongoDB, and then you can perform all the usual CRUD operations. Okay, I hope you guys enjoyed this crash course. Okay, and it's up to you to decide if I'm going to build the front end part for this project. so the UI and the UX. Okay, so we only developed the backend part, of course, but it's up to you to decide if you want to see the remaining part, okay? Because we only have the backend, but this is a solid foundation. And in fact, we could just go ahead and just use Vite and to build a front end using React and Tailwind for styling, or even custom CSS, whatever. So we can transform this into a full stack web application using M.E.R.N stack, in case you want me to do that. But I don't know, I will see if you enjoy this video or not, and if this video gets enough views, comments and likes, I will consider building that.